viewers. Well, welcome to the Black Agenda Podcast live stream weekly roundup number 2. I'm your co-host Adrian Guest, along with co-host Devin Dito. We wanted to actually start off our show to kind of honor Cicely Tyson. We got the word that she had passed away at the age of 96, and we wanted to just do something to kind of remember her. She will definitely be missed. She was an icon and a legend in her industry, so we definitely wanted to kind of honor her there. And just to kind of go ahead and get right into the news, Devin, I felt like 2020, we talked so much about COVID, so much that, Trump, was noted for saying COVID, COVID, COVID during a speech. But it's still here. 2021 is off and running, but COVID is still kind of dominating our reality right now. Just looking at it, from the cases to the hospitalizations to the deaths, they are dropping. So, there are some good sites there. We finally see some of the numbers going down. We've got some of the graphics from the COVID tracking project that shows that the numbers have fallen. Yesterday, the COVID tracking project just reported that we had about 1.9 million tests, 165,000 new cases, about 101,000 currently hospitalized, and about 3,500 deaths added to the total. So, we still have a lot, that are, being hospitalized, a lot dying, a lot of bad numbers there. But at least we are kind of seeing a trend, Devin, to where things are starting to kind of go down just a little bit.
Yeah, it's a long time coming. This surge definitely lasted longer than the summer, for sure. So you've seen this. This is like 2 solid months worth of just numbers that were growing exponentially. But now we're finally on the back end of it. It looks like, at least. But even with those numbers still falling, you see the deaths yesterday were 3,500. So that's double what we were seeing over the summer. So things are still pretty bad, but it is better. So it's like good news, bad news there, but we still have a long way to go to get there. And the other good news is we did get some vaccine news from Johnson & Johnson, and so they have finished their clinical trials and have come back and said that their vaccine is 85% effective in preventing a severe case of COVID-19, and then it's also 72% effective in preventing a more mild to severe case of COVID, which is a big deal. And the other thing is that this is only one shot. You don't need two. You don't have to come back in 3 weeks and try to do it all over again. It's one shot. And then also it doesn't need like the ultra cold storage like the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines did. They actually say you can keep the Johnson & Johnson vaccine in your refrigerator. I think it's like 30 to 40 something degrees as the temperatures that it can be okay in. And so that's a pretty big deal going forward with a one-shot vaccine that doesn't need all these extra parameters around it. And so they're of course they're going to go forward to try to get emergency use authorization from the FDA, and the government has already placed an order for 100 million doses of it for this year. But they're probably only going to have around 10 million that they said available in February. And so the other thing too, we've heard they're kind of scaring people with these variants, the South Africa variant, the UK variant. Every day there seems to be a new variant coming about. But as far as we know, when it comes to the vaccines and these new mutations, they seem to be still effective. The vaccine will still work, even though there's all these new variants coming about. And so the Moderna vaccine, for example, was shown to be effective in producing antibodies that can prevent severe symptoms that might land a person in the hospital. And so those are all good things, but the job isn't done. We're not there just yet. We're close. We're getting there, but we still have a very long way to go. And so we know a lot of people have doubts about the vaccine. Mm-hmm. They're not sure. We've talked about it at length, and so we wanted to bring somebody on to kind of give you some insight and maybe some guidance into what it's like to have the vaccine. What did she do to get comfortable with taking it? And so we want to welcome. You probably saw the promos earlier, but we have a very special guest. Her name is Rosalind Benson. She comes to us from Memphis, Tennessee, and Rosalind is a native Arkansan. She's a mother of two. She's called Memphis home for a little over 30 years, so she's been there for quite a while. And her background is extensive and impressive. She has an Associate of Arts an Associate of Arts degree from Shelby State Community College. She also has a certificate of completion in diagnostic x-ray and a bachelor's degree in radiological science with a specialty focus in ultrasonography, and that came from the Baptist College of Health and Sciences. And then to top it off, in 2015, she received a master's degree in engineering from the University of Arkansas in operations management. And so Rosalind has been in the medical field for nearly 20 years, and she is also the owner, manager, and operator of Vibe 9 Fitness LLC, which is a home-based health and wellness business. And so pretty much she knows what she's talking about when it comes to the medical field, the vaccines, and everything. So Rosalind, welcome to the show. We're glad you decided to join us.
It's an honor to be here. I'm happy to be here.
Thank you. So, like I said, we wanted to talk to you about the vaccine. So, for those who don't know, Rosalind has taken both doses of the Pfizer vaccine. And so, Rosalind, we know, with your extensive work in the medical field, 20 years, from the start of the pandemic, you saw all the kind of the misinformation and rumors swirling on YouTube and Facebook. And so, when it came about that you knew that you were going to be able to take the COVID vaccine, what went through your mind? Were you nervous? Were you worried? And then kind of tell us, what research did you do? And what did you find out? Did you have any concerns? And then, kind of walk us through your process of saying, okay, I'm going to take this vaccine.
Well, early on, I was kind of surprised, first of all, that when my facility got and told us that it was available, because I wasn't really expecting for it to be available that soon once Pfizer actually, once it was cleared by the FDA and everything. And I was just not even thinking that, in Memphis, we would get it that time. So it was actually right before Christmas, and my supervisor came in and said into the department and said, hey, we have the vaccine. It was not a warning. We knew that it was out there, but as far as me and us, we were just like waiting to see what was going to happen, but came in and say, who wants to go get the vaccine? And I was just like, me. So I did. I ended up not knowing that I was I didn't know until afterwards that I was the first one in my direct department actually to get it. So until, I had the shot, but I actually went through with 4 of my radiologists we were right in line together. And we got it. And they gave us all the information and told us when we needed to be back. And that is how that happened. Now, to just make me want to do it or to know that I would be doing it, I did do my research somewhat, I guess I could say. I did it, and I realized that the messenger, the mRNA that all of this derived from the vaccine had been around for a minute. They had, run test spots on different type of research and science that they would even use it on. So it's not like it was brand new, and I knew it was synthetic. I knew it wouldn't be a live virus or components or ingredients that they would be using. Although it's very early, it was very early and the process was very short. I was just really willing to take the chance, being that I was directly right smack in the middle of dealing with COVID patients.
Mm-hmm.
So,
And one of the things that we would definitely like you to maybe, if you did have any, hopefully you didn't, but did you have any side effects or any reactions to the vaccine, or any of your coworkers who you saw that, took the vaccine? Did you document any sort of issues when they took the vaccine?
Okay, so before I even took the vaccine, before I knew we were going to get it, I had already posted that I would be sharing my experience on my own personal Facebook page. So once I did, which was probably a week before, like I said, I didn't know when. I just knew that if it came to that point that I would do it. And yes, I did document. Like I said, I went with 4 people at that time, but within 2 days, I think maybe 10 to 12 of my coworkers had gotten the vaccine. And none of us well, let's see, maybe 6 of us had really no side effect, with the exception of a sore arm at the injection site. So, which is common with any vaccine or shot pretty much.
Right.
So, and for me, that only lasted until the next day. One person said they was nauseous, and had some stomach issues, and that lasted. 2 people were like that, and that lasted a day. And then one person said she had a headache, but she said she always have a headache. So she didn't know the vaccine actually contributed to it. But for myself, I really didn't experience anything after the first vaccine. Like I said, I had a sore arm, and I used, the old remedy, rub alcohol or, on it. And then 21 days later, I received the second dose. And for that one, I kind of said I may have had a little bit of fatigue, but it was right after the holidays. I couldn't really just directly relate it to the vaccine, but it wasn't enough for me to say, okay, the vaccine is causing this.
Gotcha.
So my thing is, it's like I've always been taught in the medical field, to me, the benefit outweighs the risk. And when you're in a high risk situation, and with as much as I've seen, it just was, for me, I was just gonna go ahead and do it.
Now, you said though you were very very public, with your vaccine story, and you told people on Facebook you were going to take it. So, of course, we wanted to ask. There's a lot of people in our community, especially in other communities, around the country, black, white. Everybody has rumors and doubts about the vaccine, and so with you being so public about it, was there any backlash, to you taking it? Was there anybody, maybe in your family who were kind of like, I don't know why you're taking that. It's going to do this to you. Kind of take us through what if anything was said, and then what did you say back to them?
I don't know if I would call it backlash. I can just tell the skepticism with people. You know what I'm saying? My goal has never been to tell someone it's the right thing to do. It's just been more of, I'm going to tell you my experience and what I know, and then you can make a decision based upon your own research, your own feelings, your own comfort level. And that's basically it. Because some people, no matter, even if I was to come out turning cartwheels and, you know what I'm saying, they're not going to get the vaccine anyway. So the thing about it is all I can do is share my experience and let people know that, there are plenty of people that I have seen, just like people will say that Caucasian white people are not getting the vaccine. Some, I just see on both ends, it's just with both races, there are some people that want, and I just think it sometimes just come down to a personal choice. So, and I'm good with a personal choice. So, like I said, all I can do is put the information out there. I did have maybe 1 or 2 people to say something. I know people who are around me who are just against, getting a vaccine.
And it's interesting, whenever you say that, because it's, to us, the numbers don't lie. I mean, when you look at the data and you see that, we've had, over 420,000 deaths, over 100,000 in the hospital, the numbers don't lie. And I think that, some of us are letting our guard down a little bit because, we've got maybe potentially 3 vaccines and numbers are going down. But, our last question to you, Rosalind, what do you say to, leaders and other individuals around you who are kind of letting their guards down and who are thinking that it may be okay just to go back to business as usual just because the numbers are starting to fall? What would you say to them right now?
I have always been a proponent for masks, because we wear them. Let me tell you, this is my example. Okay, I've been in the medical field for nearly 20 years, really close, be 20 years this year. And we've always worn or used universal precaution and worn masks around every, especially airborne illness, disease, virus there is. That is what has protected us. I've been around patients with all kinds of diseases and illnesses that would bear me, I would get it if I did not use that precaution. So my thing is okay, yes, you're not used to that outside of the hospital, but if it has protected me inside the hospital and there's a variant, there's something outside of the hospital that is closely, related, then I would want to be protected. So my thing is the protection. I think if we had just worn masks and did what we're supposed to do, then we would be much farther along. Like I said, you can't tell people what to do. All I can do is say, hey, I've had to do this for years. I am in my, let's see, probably 20th or 21st day post fully being vaccinated.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? I still wear my mask. I still wear my N95 when I go into a COVID room. I still wear my N95 regardless, whether I know the patient has been tested for COVID or not.
No, that's absolutely right.
Yeah, so and it's not me being overly cautious, it's me just being cautious.
Yeah, I'm the same way.
Yes, it's just normal for me. It's like, okay, if this is gonna protect, okay, this is just another layer of protection. Because remember, it's said to be 94. I got Pfizer, so 94%. So everybody has not been vaccinated. So, that means that leaves 6%. I don't want to be in that. But the thing about it, like I said, is it doesn't come down to a whole bunch of, I don't even know, to be honest. This is my honest opinion. I don't know how it became political.
Well, I tell you what, you can, if you watch our show over the past season one, you'll probably get to how it became so political.
I don't know why it should have, is what I should say. It's a medical situation that should not have ever become political. Uh-huh. Mm-hmm. Well, you can't explain what you don't know. It was a very new disease, illness. You can't dig into something, especially scientifically, with facts on something new. So that was the whole, yeah, it was a whole thing. Actually, I was in Egypt when we got the word to come back, and Dubai was already doing the test. I mean, not the test. They were already doing like the survey, like checking temperatures. And we came back from Egypt. So, well, it may have been Egypt that was doing it in order for us to get to Dubai. I can't remember. But once we hit New York City, because we had already gone through customs, 600 people just went, and see, it was already in Egypt at that point. So it was just, we weren't ready. We just weren't ready. But hey, I hope we will make new progress with the vaccine. I hope.
Hmm.
My mic is muted. Sorry. For those who were trying to listen, my mic was muted. But the only thing I wanted to say was just that this is an individual choice. We're not trying to push people to go rush and take the vaccine. But we would like for you to. If we were offered, I would take it. I don't need it, but if offered, I would take it. At the end of the day, it is an individual choice, and we just really want you to make sure that you're getting good information from reliable, proven sources, and not from Facebook and random people on YouTube. Make sure you reach out and seek really good information before you decide, oh, this is a hoax. It's gonna change your DNA and things like that. So we just wanted to get that message out there for the people who might be watching. Any last thoughts before we go, Adrian?
No, I think that's it in a nutshell right there. Whenever we started talking about this, it's always about just trying to educate people, de-escalate the situation, try to give people the facts, because facts still matter, even though a lot of fake news gets thrown around. Facts do matter. So other than that, I think Devin, we can go ahead and let our viewers go into the first break.
All right, Rosalind, thank you again for joining us. We really
Thank you,
appreciate
Rosalind.
it.
Thank you so much.
All right, we're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Technical difficulties over here. But welcome back. So we really appreciate you staying through and watching Rosalind's interview. It will be up on YouTube later if you want to rewatch it and share it with anybody else. And so we're going to move on in the show, and we're going to start with a story here from out of Los Angeles with the LA Times. And this is about CBS, the broadcasting company. So this week we got some big news that the National Association of Black Journalists has actually met with CBS on Sunday night regarding disturbing disturbing revelations and allegations about racism and a toxic work environment at the company. And so in particular, They're talking about two executives. One is Peter Dunn, who is the president of CBS stations, and then the other is David Friend, who is the senior vice president of news for CBS stations and VP of news at WCBS in New York. And so the allegations, they say, are that Peter Dunn made disparaging comments about popular and highly respected black male Philadelphia anchor Uki Johnson, and they described him as just a jive guy and seeming to ridicule him for dancing on air. And then Dunn and Friend also criticized a young black female morning anchor. They criticized her accent and her work a few days into her new assignment. And then they also, there was the firing of another black female anchor of Ethiopian origin because Peter Dunn, quote, hated her face. And then the last complaint here was filed by a former CBS manager with the Pennsylvania Human Relations Commission, expressing what he said was discriminatory behavior through the instruction of others, including pay based on race, gender, and sexual orientation. And so these allegations came out after a more than 2-year investigation. And so right now, CBS has actually hired 2 outside firms to investigate these reports of racism and sexism and even homophobia. And so, Adrian, most of these complaints were brought about Peter Dunn, but the staffers really aren't convinced anything is going to take place, that would actually be done to address their concerns. And 5, they even have in this story, they have 5 current or former female executives that have told the LA Times that Peter Dunn verbally abused them. And there was even hirings of black employees where Dunn and Friend made several racist comments about the journalist in person and over emails. And so CBS 3 has issued a statement denouncing this treatment. And so far, the only, I guess you could say, consequence for Mr. Dunn and Friend has been that they've been put on administrative leave. But the Philadelphia Association of Black Journalists is calling for immediate changes. And so we'll keep you updated on that story, Adrian. But it is, again, it's kind of one of those things. Things have changed, but not really. We still see as you get higher in the ranks in these companies, and a lot of people still are still hold racist views and are still pretty prejudiced, even to black people, but not just to the rest of the country. And so this is an issue even after the summer of the Black Lives Matter protests. We're still seeing these things happen.
Yeah, Devin. I mean, you would think that 2021 we've come a little bit further. You would think that with more faces like us delivering media, there wouldn't be cases like this. But I mean, whenever you talk about the 2 years of investigation that goes into this, and you talk about the fact that there were executives coming to the company talking about this, and it kind of getting buried under the rug. It's just kind of almost reminiscent of kind of the Me Too movement. It's reminiscent of just the fact that a lot of powerful people end up getting away with doing bad things. It's easy for them to just kind of throw some money at it, or maybe do it through some arbitration agreements or a non-disclosure agreement or something like that. But it's really helpful when there's investigations that really bring this kind of stuff to light, because like I said, it just shows that even though we've come a long way, we don't have whites only, colored only signs or things like that. We still have a ceiling to kind of overcome. We still have some barriers that we've got to break through to really have fair representation and really have people who are on our side. And I mean, it just it almost is, I guess, just translates through many different industries, whether it be talking about this right here, media, or talking about the fact that we don't have equal representation in government. Even with our other story with sports, talking about the fact that we don't have equal representation, when we look at the NFL. And, I know we'll just be talking about mainly the NFL, but I can imagine if you did an analysis overall, major sports, industries, we are the ones who make up a lot of, the teams. I mean, especially if you look at the NBA, I mean, it's dominated by a lot of people who love to watch us run up and down the court or throw a football. But when it comes down to the owners and the coaches and things like that, Devin, we're nowhere to be found. We don't get a seat at that table. We don't get invited to that room or that meeting. So it's very disheartening. But going into February, Black History Month, maybe we'll get to see some other industries and sectors kind of coming out and trying to do something to better those odds.
Exactly, and that's why we're talking about it. Black History Month is a couple days away, or 2 days away. So we want to bring these stories to you to show that things have gotten better, but the ceiling is still there, like Adrian said. And so we'll keep you updated on the CBS story, but we kind of want to move to another industry that we're underrepresented. So, and that would be the National Football League. And so to help us talk about that, we're going to bring on our friend and frat brother, Thad Fairley. He's been on the show before, but he is back again. So Thad, thank you for coming back on the show.
And no problem. Thanks for having me, Dito and Adrian. So, yeah.
Of course, anything sports related, we gotta bring you back on to talk about it. And so what we really want to dig into is again, we just went through another hiring spree with the NFL. I think there were 7 openings here.
7 openings.
Yeah.
And, keep going. So 7 openings and only 2 were, non-Caucasian.
That's a good way to put it.
You had David Coley from the Houston Texans, who was African American, and Robert Salah of the New York Giants, who was Lebanese descent. Other than that, those are the only 2 were hired, I guess you say, outside the box. Yeah.
Right, and so that with those 2 additions, I think it only leaves 3 black coaches. Well, not 3, but that would be 5.
Brian Flores of the Miami Dolphins. Mm-hmm. Of course, Mike Tomlin of the Pittsburgh Steelers, and David Coley.
Yeah. So we have 3 black coaches.
American coaches in the league.
Right.
Like Adrian said, I wanted to bounce off one of his points is I find it odd that these sports, specifically basketball and football, the NBA and the NFL, are mostly made of African American players. Yep. I believe 70% of the NFL is made of African American players, and I mean that's a lot, and a lot of people joke about there's so many positions that it's like I don't know, Devin, you play football, and you too, what I'm saying? It's almost like this thing where now if you have white players at certain positions, it's unheard of. You don't see a white safety out there all the time. You know what I'm saying? You might be I'm the quarterback, you know what I'm saying? Kickers
and hey, Thad, just to let you know that the NBA is actually 80%, about 81% African American. So I mean, that's even more.
And it's a lot more. And yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, I wish we would have had the statistic or not the statistic, but the fact of how many black head coaches there are in the NBA. But I know there's not that many. There's probably maybe 5 or 6.
2?
I believe that was clearly a lot more than the NFL. I feel like the NBA has had a easier and better, I guess, time dealing with the situation of hiring African American coaches. It's been a little bit rougher in the NFL. So far, they had to put rules in play, the Rooney Rule, and stuff like that, where they had to actually give African American, coach or hires chances. You at least had to have a interview with these guys,
right.
So, but I mean, apparently they didn't work. People we can have.
Yeah,
I have an interview with you. That doesn't mean we have to hire you.
That's affirmative action, I guess.
That's kind of what happened with that, right? Yeah.
Exactly.
And a lot of the rules, I think it's the point where they now are trying to look at maybe even rewarding, franchises or teams if they hire a black coach, hey, we'll give you some draft picks or something like that. It's got that bad. It's sad.
It's pretty sad.
You have to do that. So
I mean, whenever it's funny you talk about that. I mean, I don't even know how to feel about that when it's so bad that you have to incentivize owners to hire diversity.
Yeah.
that's almost, I mean, that's just shameful that you've got to go throughout that length just to get people to, hire, somebody that doesn't look like them. I mean, that's just,
Right.
I don't know. That's just, like I said, it's like affirmative action, but
Right.
of course, I don't
Exactly.
follow sports as much, but I didn't
Right.
know anything about this ruining rule. And,
Yeah.
and that's just, I mean, that's silly as well. Just the fact that you've got to have an interview, but that doesn't mean anything. I mean, they could just say that they
Right.
had the interview, but not want to
Not
hire
hire
you
them.
anyway already.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. I said it's almost like forcing them to sit down, knowing that nothing will change.
Nothing will
So,
change.
Exactly what it is, and like couple of the numbers. As Dito, you've been around, you know names and stuff, but I believe the NFL's 100th anniversary was just what, a year or two ago.
Yeah. Like
And
yeah.
like so throughout the whole entirety of the NFL, I believe there hasn't even been 30 African American coaches. There may have been like maybe
Wow.
at the most 25, 26. So, I mean, that goes to show you how bad it is.
And
So,
that a lot of that has to do really with how the league started, because a lot of people don't know, like African Americans were not allowed to be in the NFL at all when it first started. And so eventually we got the right to play in the league, but then we had to work to be able to coach the teams and run the teams and be GMs and coaches. And so
GMs are probably like, I'm pretty sure they're no.
Yeah.
I mean, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think there are any black owners of.
There is
Not in the NFL.
I looked that up. NFL or NBA. I looked that up.
Oh, we got a black owner in there, all right. But you know what I'm saying? I'm pretty sure that wasn't the case. But GMs
You do have some owners of color, but none of our color.
yeah.
Exactly. GMs are probably less than coaches. Like if they're only, like I said, in counting Robert Salah, who again is of Lebanese descent, there are only 4, you know what I'm saying, coaches of other, you know what I'm saying, backgrounds and ethnicities in the NFL. So 3 African Americans and 1 Lebanese descent. So again, it's a big gap. So.
And it's not like there aren't qualified black coaches. I mean, we literally talk about Eric Bieniemy from the Kansas City Chiefs every single year. We say Eric Bieniemy, why is he not getting hired? Like every time, he might get an interview here or there, but he never, he gets hired. But then they'll go hire, somebody who's been the quarterback's coach for a year and make them a head coach. They haven't had any kind of experience. I mean, you look at the people who did get hired. We're not saying all these positions should have hired black head coaches. But in a league that's upwards 70% African American, you're telling me we can only get 4 out of 32 teams can only choose 4 black head coaches? That doesn't make sense.
So here's another thing too. Not only that, but when they do get hired, and they're usually not put in a good position.
Yes, that matters
like
too.
You hire a black coach to where, oh man, it's almost like the NFL. You hire a black coach for him to get 3 and out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean that's it.
And then you punt them away, bro. That's how it is, man. It's like it's kind of hard for them. Like they're usually stuck in like situations like, and like I said, I want to separate this because you and I made a discussion just about the coaches in general and not giving good coaches opportunities. Or this year's been like we had 7 coaching vacancies, and a couple of them were like random to where they just gave it to just about anybody. And like the one African American coach who was hired this year, Dave Culley, he was just put in like, Devin, like Houston is
he just got put in an awful situation
right now, man. I mean, Houston is it's a lot of stuff going down in Houston, and that's just a bad place for you to send an African American coach. And he's an older coach. I believe he's 68. Mm-hmm. So that's not really. I mean, he's old, so you're really not gonna keep him in there for the future. Like, so he's like, I don't know if he's kind of there to just like
put it back
get
together
him in a certain situation before someone else takes over, like a bridge coach or whatever it is. But you have these coaches and you put them in situations, and then when they finish their, coaching career or their turn,
they're out.
They're looked at as bad coaches now, and it's really not them. It's just the situation that they were in. If you put anybody else there, it would have, you would have gotten the same result. just about. So like the ones, that like I said, we talked about Marvin Lewis, Jim Conwell,
Yeah.
names like these. Like if somebody were to tell you a certain team is hiring Marvin Lewis or Jim Conwell, you like, why are they looking at him? like that's a lot of people look at it like.
Yeah.
I feel like they're good coaches. They just need a opportunity in like a different place because they kind of were set up. Not gonna say set up to fail, but it was just hard for them to turn the franchise around. So.
Yeah, I mean that's how it goes. When things get really bad, that's when the team wants to be diverse and hire a black head coach.
Exactly.
They're there for 2 to 3 years. They put things kind of back in order, and then they're fired because they didn't win enough. That's always the excuse. And then the next coach comes into a much better, situation. And so I don't know what do you think quickly here? What do you think ultimately happens? Do you think the NFL needs to provide, extra draft picks and stuff like that, or should they force a team, to hire a black coach, or what do you think ultimately they should do?
So I'm gonna use the Eric Bieniemy, because that's a name we've been hearing for the last
4 or 5 years.
2 or 3 years.
Yeah.
4 or 5 years, really. And so he's a guy who didn't, even if he got it, I don't even think he maybe got one team to sit down with him. So one interview maybe. But from where they go from here, it's hard, Evan and Adrian, because you don't want to force them to hire black coaches, because then that'll become a problem. And it's a problem within the building, as far as with the GMs and the owners. Like the league kind of forced this guy on us, and that could make things worse. They just have to, rewarding them. Again, that feels like it's too much for us to have to reward you just for you to.
It just comes off wrong.
Somebody in. So it's I believe in the NFL. It does, yeah. I believe in the NFL. I don't know what it'll take. I just give. Should they make a rule where they give you a quota on the amount of African American coaches or coaches of minority that you should give an interview, like maybe 5 a year or something like that? I don't know. That's something you can look at, but again, it's tough where the league goes from. Like I said, it's been like this for a long time since I've been growing up. Like I said, you've seen a lot of them come and go. And like I said, again, the NFL has been here for 100 years, and you barely have 30. Have had 30 after.
Yeah.
Get a job. So.
Yeah, they'll have to fix that, and I think it starts at the top with the owners. They're gonna have to do something about the owners and somehow, in a way, force them, to hire a coach, because they're just not gonna do it.
Maybe
they don't care.
Commissioner or something like that.
Maybe. Maybe a black kid. They probably still wouldn't listen to him either. So, they just don't seem to really care what it looks like PR wise. They don't really care. They feel like they'll hire people that look like them and they can control. And so, they just refuse to do it. So, I don't know where they go from there. But, Dad, we appreciate you coming on the show again. We're going to have you, if y'all don't know, we're going to have a Super Bowl show next Saturday. So Thad is going to be back on to give us his picks for the Kansas City Chiefs and Tampa Bay game. And so before we go, we did want to point out that a sad note here, legendary basketball coach John Chaney passed away yesterday, just 8 days after his 89th birthday, after a short, unspecified illness. And if you just don't know, John Chaney had led Temple University to 17 NCAA tournament appearances over 24 seasons, including 5 NCAA regional finals. Chaney had over 700 wins as a head coach there, and he was twice named National Head Coach of the Year. And his teams at Temple won 6 Atlantic 10 Conference titles. And so he was living in suburban Philadelphia. And so there's some sad news there. John Chaney dies at 89. And so with that, we're going to end our segment here, and we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. Hey, welcome back, everybody. So we want to get into some final news here to kind of wrap up the show before we get into our quick hits. And so quickly, we want to touch on some things that Joe Biden is doing. And so Biden, has been off and running as far as the executive orders is concerned. And so he's trying to keep his promise of healing the nation and making racial divides a priority of his administration. And so he's already advocated for restoring and extending the Voting Rights Act. And then he's already signed 42 executive orders since taking office on January 20th. And so if you want to see everything that he signed, CNN Politics has put together an article that we can provide you. We'll put it in the comment section, and you can kind of look and see what Biden's been up to and just his first week on the job. So and so just this week, he signed 4 more. And so this is really why we wanted to dig into this. He signed 4 executive orders that were really aimed at addressing racial equality. The first one is directing the Department of Housing and Urban Development to take what he says, take steps necessary to redress racially discriminatory federal housing policies. Trump's administration practices, as well as the U.S. is passed with dealing redlining and even mortgage discrimination. And then he also directed the Department of Justice to end its use of private prisons, which was the big thing that a lot of people were talking about. The executive order has been noted to be an important first step, not the final, but the first step to end, the use of private prisons. And it's not the end to the beginning of us starting prison reform in the country. So, Adrian, you see Biden kind of trying to do a lot of different touch points as far as different things he's trying to get going. He's doing a lot, and it's only been a week. So definitely at least encouraging to see that he's trying to stick to what he said on the campaign trail.
Yeah, and I guess it's encouraging that some of these promises aren't things like let's build a wall and
Yes.
things like that. They're not divisive promises. They're things that we actually need. One of the other things that he did was kind of reaffirming the government's commitment for tribal sovereignty and consultation, which I find is really important and key. I know that we're the Black Agenda, and but I always tell people whenever we talk about the Black Agenda, we got to include all minorities because we all kind of share in the plight and kind of the struggle there. And Native Americans have definitely had their struggles, so it's definitely good to see the administration trying to do that, as well as combat some of the xenophobia that Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders have had. The act that he signed is going to advance cultural competency, language access, and really help to try to prevent some of the hate crimes and the harassment that Asian Americans and Pacific Islanders here in our country experience. Not to mention, kind of keeping ties with what he did under the Obama administration, signing an executive order reopening the healthcare exchange for Obamacare, starting on the 15th of February, running until the 15th of May. So yeah, Devin, I mean, it's good that he's off and running. I always say, it seems like the White House is a little calmer, it's quieter. But whenever you read things like this, Biden is just working. He's not tweeting about it. He's just getting stuff done. And that's, I tell people now, that's what you want out of a president. Ideally, whatever the president does isn't supposed to dominate, our day to day. Usually, it's that's how it was with Obama. I didn't even know about what he was doing, his 8 years hardly, other than the Obamacare, and that's kind of how it's supposed to be, behind the scenes, progressing the people. So it's good to see, Joe Biden and Kamala Harris and the entire administration just kind of doing that. I think the other big news, Devin, of the week is this GameStop. I almost hate that I've moved to California and it's higher cost of living.
Yeah.
I don't have as much discretionary income as I would living over in Memphis. So Devin, I'll let you kind of start off a little bit talking about this GameStop. Did you watch this any?
I did. I watched it. I was in it because I'm on Robinhood. So I saw, GameStop was spiking and I tried to jump in and get it. It didn't really work out, but it was crazy. I mean, it was the craziest thing I've ever seen as far as watching a stock price, jump like that by the second. And so, if you don't know, I don't know how you don't know because this has been the biggest story the whole week. But GameStop, the company, obviously we know it's not doing well because of the pandemic. So their stock price was like $4 at some point last year. It was $10 as recently as maybe even a month ago. But somehow people on Reddit, in particular, the thread called Wall Street Bets, somebody was digging around and figured out that there was a hedge fund or hedge funds that had shorted the stock of GameStop by like 140%. So essentially, they had shorted more shares than what the company actually has offered on the stock market. You shouldn't be able to do that in the first place. But Wall Street Bets, they came up on this, and so they kind of together slowly tried to jack up the price. They started buying GameStop, and their stock slowly started ticking upwards. And then this week, it just absolutely took off. And so, typically with the short, you're borrowing that stock at one price. You're going to sell it, and then you're going to buy it back at a lower price. That's why you're shorting it. Shorting it, you're betting that the stock price is going to go down. And so, for Melvin Capital, everything was all good as long as that stock price kept going down from, say, whatever they bought it at, $20, $10. Then they could sell it at, say, $4, and they're making $16 a share. However, there was this Reddit group targeted the stock, shot the price up more than 400%. And so today it actually trades at $312 when 4 months ago it was $6. That's it. It was $6. You could go buy a share of GameStop. Adrian, this was pretty incredible. I think I watched CNBC most of the day, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, and I think they had to halt GameStop one day like 18 times because the share was dropping and going. It was skyrocketing, and it would drop 1 second. And so they have guardrails to where if a stock is, volatile like that, they will just stop trading on it completely. It did that 18 times. So that's pretty insane. And it's got the attention of White House, Treasury, the SEC. So yeah, this is pretty insane watching this happen.
Yeah, I mean it made me wish, like I said, that I would have been in on this and bought some GameStop stock. But the bigger picture here, Devin, is just really looking at the power of small investors. Everybody thinks the stock market, and we think about Wall Street, and we think about your Mark Cubans and your Jeff Bezos, people who are really your big movers and shakers in the market. But you see here a Reddit group that I think there were about 2 million subscribers or something like that. Who I don't know how much money everybody was putting in there, but they were able to pool that money together and thrust the price of GameStop stock up, because of supply and demand so much that it caused Melvin Capital to need 2 other hedge funds to pour in, I think, another $1 billion to kind of help secure its volatility. And I think still that didn't really do much good. And I think, Devin, you're going to see some legislation and some regulations come out of this. I think that's one of the things that companies on Wall Street, they don't like this, obviously.
No, not at all.
I think you're gonna and one of the things that we know is that people on Wall Street fund our politicians. Even President Biden. I think I saw an article talking about how he got some money from Wall Street. I mean, it's a lot of them do. I'm not fronting or casting any shade towards anybody who gets it, because I understand running for president costs money. But I bet there's going to be some regulation out of this. If you've got the White House, the Treasury, and the SEC all actively watching, I mean, most of the reports I see say that the feds are actively monitoring this volatility of what's going on. And it's just, like I said, it's just really showing that the so-called free market, it's really not free, because whenever we, regular everyday citizens can really start to propel ourselves up and maybe even take down some of the billionaires, that's a problem when they have been doing this the whole time. I mean, they have so much money that they can put into the stock market that it could even tank, some of our pensions and things. They could short, some of the things that we're invested in, or we lose money. So, yeah, Devin, it's interesting to see this. But like I said, I think that there's going to be some regulation coming out of Capitol Hill or the SEC or something. Somebody's going to have to step in because they don't like us making money, apparently.
No, that's what happens. When you make the rules of the game, you can change them when you want to. And so you had apps like Robinhood and Webull were basically blocking people from buying the stock. I couldn't buy it. Like I was on
could for a while.
No, you could, like, they just, like, that's what kind of struck me, was like, oh wow, okay, this is, like the rules are really changing as we're looking at it. Like they literally say you cannot buy GameStop stock anymore, and of course it started to go down because there were millions of people trying to buy it. Like, and so it's only because, like you say, these Wall Street guys, they were losing at the game. But you shouldn't be able to short a company by 140%. Also, like the market is really doing what it's supposed to. Nobody made them short the stock like that, and it was smart of the people on Wall Street best to notice it and take advantage of it.
And that's what day trading and things like that's all about. Being able to look at different industry news, look at different trends, and kind of know when to jump in and capitalize. And here, whenever you've got the fact that, like I said, that Reddit thread or group rather is made up of like 2 million subscribers. I mean, that's you can put a lot of money. I mean, if everybody gives $5 or whatever, man, that's a lot of money right there. Yeah. So I mean, that just goes to show you there's power. Maybe you'll start to see more people on that group. Maybe I need to join that group or create another one and just start just investing or something. But that's what it's all about. And another thing, Devin, it definitely goes to show this is where people like us who don't have income, and we're always talking about helping our communities.
Yeah.
This is the kind of stuff that we need to be getting in on. We got to get our community in on the investment for sure.
Absolutely. Everybody should be involved. You don't have to go and, put in thousands of dollars. I mean, I put in like $20 every week. That's it. It's on repeat. I pick 4 stocks, $5 goes towards each one. That's how you get started building up, an investment portfolio. You don't have to be a super, nerd or expert about it. Just go in and pick stocks and companies that you're familiar with. You know how they work. And if you like it, put $5 towards it every week. And then eventually you'll build up a portfolio and you'll get better at it and smarter at it. And that's how you do it. You don't have to be an expert.
And luckily, Devin, we live in a world of technology and innovation. And I mean, there's so many different apps that you can do that will give you counseling and give you help and have different tools to educate you, like E-Trade, Ameritrade. Like they have different things within their platform that'll educate you over if you don't know what a short is or an option is, it'll start to teach you. So the thing before we end, viewers, the main thing was just to say, don't feel defeated. And I think whenever people start talking about this, people, hedge funds, shorting a stock and all that kind of stuff goes over everybody's heads and you feel like you can't participate. But we was really just trying to say that this is for everybody. Anybody can do it. We live in a world where you can learn literally about anything. Everybody's got a cell phone. That's all you need.
Yep, that's all it takes. So with that, we're going to take our final break here and get into our quick hits, and then we'll be getting out of here. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
right, viewers. So let's get into our quick hits, and the first one is coming from some residents from San Francisco. Now, I like Subway, Devin. I think everybody kind of likes Subway because they're cheap. You can get that $5 foot long, but usually everything that's cheap, there's probably a little catch to it. You know what I mean? They're probably cutting some corners around what they're doing. And what these two residents are suing is about the company cutting some corners. So basically, viewers, they're alleging that Subway's tuna is anything but tuna is what they're saying. They're saying that that's false advertising and it's fraud against the company. So the two residents actually had samples from several California restaurants analyzed, and the filling was actually determined to be a mixture of various concoctions that do not constitute tuna. Now, Devin, I don't ever get tuna from Subway, but viewers, you can take it how you want to. Subway did call the allegations reckless and improper and intended to vigorously defend itself. So take it how you want. I would maybe avoid the tuna from Subway.
Absolutely. I've never eaten a tuna and don't plan on it. So our next story here comes from Jeopardy, the world of Jeopardy. So this is on Wednesday. There was a pretty big fail on Wednesday's episode of the show that got a lot of attention. And so all three contestants were stumped when they had to identify a picture of comedian Dave Chappelle. And so we're going to play a quick video to see this. This is probably the hardest question they got all day. And so apparently they didn't know who Dave Chappelle was. Here it is.
This comedian displayed his drama chops in A Star is Born, playing Bradley Cooper's longtime friend. That's Dave Chappelle.
So they didn't know who Dave Chappelle was. And you can see the Jeopardy host was like, what? What are you, really? It's Dave Chappelle. Like, come on, how do you not know Dave Chappelle? But so that happened. Jeopardy contestants don't know Dave Chappelle. Goodness gracious.
I like I said, I know who he is obviously because I've seen all of his shows. But I mean, you've seen him once or twice. You kind of remember that face. Come on.
You could at least given a guess of like Kevin Hart. I mean, like I would have. You could say something other. Don't say nothing.
Right. Exactly. And then another quick hits, viewers. We've got some big waves, some big moves here because we don't have a lot of CEOs who look like us. So it's really nice when we see people rising up to the ranks. But this was Starbucks COO, Chief Operating Officer Rosalind Brewer. She's continuing to be a trailblazer in the industry. She's going to be switching over to Walgreens and becoming their CEO. So that's really, really awesome that that's going to be happening for her. What's going on? She will be the only Black woman currently serving as a Fortune 500 CEO and just the third Black woman to lead a Fortune 500 firm in history. So I mean that's some big stuff, Devin, to be able to say that, to be able to, if I were her, I may put that on a plaque or something like that. Prior to joining Starbucks in 2017, she spent 5 years as CEO of Sam's Club, which is owned by Walmart. So she's been a long-time executive in corporate America, breaking through those barriers, breaking through those ceilings. So it's awesome to kind of see Rosalind making it happen.
Very happy for her. I'm so glad to see that representation. So our next story here is going to be for any of the folks who like sleeping. You like reviewing mattresses. There's a company out there that's willing to pay you $3,000 to test out mattresses. And so the website is called sleepjunkie.com, and they said that they are seeking a real life sleeping beauty to get paid $3,000 to test out mattresses. And so sleepjunkie.com said the chosen candidate will be, quote, be paid to sleep on the job by trying 3 top-rated mattresses in a 2-month period and writing detailed reviews of each experience. Now, there are some job qualifications here. To be right for this job, you have to be a self-starter. You have to be available to work immediately and independently. You must have clear writing skills, good evaluation skills, and be exceptionally good at sleeping. And so the posting, it does reveal one catch. So of course there's a catch with this. When you are doing the testing of the mattresses, you have to sleep alone to ensure an undisturbed night's sleep. So if you want to test out some mattresses, you can make $3,000.
Yeah, Devin, it's viewers. We always like to find some interesting things from sleeping to tasting candy to baking wacky cookies. There's a lot of different ways to make money, Devin. That's the moral of the story.
Right. See.
Another little, another little quick hit because we're getting into February, getting into Valentine's Day. This the month of love. Viewers, I don't know if you've got any ex-lovers, if you've got somebody who maybe burned things, maybe treated you badly or whatever. But this year, there's going to be a way for you to send them a clear message that you don't really appreciate them or their behavior. So the San Antonio Zoo, Devin, out of I guess I assume this is out of Texas, is
Yeah.
giving scorned lovers the opportunity to pay $5 to have a cockroach named after your ex. And the cockroach that's going to have the name of your ex is going to be actually served to a larger zoo animal as a meal. So they're going to be able to snack on that. And they said if you wanted to maybe make a stronger statement to take
Oh
it,
my
a step
gosh.
further, you can pay $25 and they're going to name a pre-frozen rat after your former lover, which that rat's going to be fed to a snake. So, different options. And Devin, just to make it a little bit better, because obviously those first two things may be a little graphic for people. We may even have some people who are vegan, vegetarian, or whatever. If you do feel that that's graphic, they do have a herbivore option for you, which they would just feed maybe some plants to a mammal. So plenty of options for you to show an ex-lover how much you appreciate him on Valentine's Day this year.
Wow. that's pretty that's pretty awful. That was a nasty breakup then if you got to do that. Um, so our last story here, our last quick hit here is just some news from the nonprofit world, just to give you an idea of how hard nonprofits have been hit. This is a report from Johns Hopkins University that they found that 50,000 positions that were from nonprofits have been shed due to the economic collapse and damage from the pandemic. And so the findings go on to say it could take nearly 18 months, so almost 2 years, to regain the nonprofit jobs that were lost due to this pandemic. And that is with the assumption that our response to this virus is going to get better and is more successful. And the report was about to uncover the fact that nonprofits employed nearly 930,000 fewer workers last month than they did this time last year. So they have seen a huge decrease in their workforce. And nonprofits in arts, entertainment, recreation have all suffered the most, losing about 37% of their workforce. And nonprofits in educational services have also taken a hit, losing about 15% of their employment. And then the flip side to this, Adrian, is they're losing jobs, but the need has actually gone through the roof. So they're having to do more with less people. And so if you have a local nonprofit, find them, help them out. And we're actually, something new here, Adrian, is going to actually let you know who's going to be our charity for February.
Yeah, Devin and viewers, that's why we wanted to end our quick hits with talking about a nonprofit, because we've been kind of talking a little bit about one of the newer things that we're going to be doing each month, which is selecting a charity for that month and just trying to promote them. And this charity that we're choosing for the month of February, I never even heard of it. I was just kind of doing some research to look up potential charities. And when I saw, what their mission is, I was like, this is very fitting for what we're going through in 2021. This is very fitting to go into Black History Month. But viewers, the charity that we're selecting for the month of February is called Facing History and Ourselves. This charity seeks to educate students of all backgrounds about the history of racism, prejudice, and anti-Semitism. And like I said, that's perfect going into Black History Month. That's perfect talking about healing the nation, talking about coming out of a terrible pandemic, a horrible 4 years of presidency. We need to, be educated about how we can, better ourselves through learning about our history and our past, and being able to work together. So be on the lookout, viewers. You're going to be seeing us talking, more about that charity, Facing History and Ourselves. We'll reach out to that charity and hope to have someone from there to actually do an interview with. So yeah, Devin, it's going to be fun to kind of, partner with another organization each month and try to help to promote their mission.
Absolutely. And so, and just for the viewers, I was able to get up a video here of their website so they can actually see what it looks like, and see what they're doing. And so this is our charity for the month, and we want to recognize them and shine some light, and try to do some good. That's the purpose of this whole thing here is to try to do some good in our communities, and we're going to start with Facing History and Ourselves. So there it is right there, facinghistory.org. If you want to go check him out, maybe give some money, just kind of see what their mission is. And so that's how we wanted to end our episode here. Just letting you know kind of things that you can do in your community to help out, because there is a need. There's a lot of people out there who are hurting. And so there's a lot of charities that are doing some great work. And so before we go, we wanted to tell you, we do have more podcast episodes coming up. We don't just do a live show. We also do an audio podcast, and that podcast comes out every Tuesday. And so we had our last episode was Healing a Divided Nation, featuring Pulitzer Prize winning historian and professor Dr. Eric Foner on the show. But our next one, you don't want to miss this one because it's all about Valentine's Day and relationships and trying to find love and all those things. So that's coming up on Tuesday, and we're going to be talking with Amber Keller Andrews, who's one of the founders of Keller International, which is the #1 ranked global matchmaking service. So that's a big interview. That's going to be coming out Tuesday, February 2nd. And so make sure you set your notifications. You can find us on Spotify, Apple Podcast. You know the spiel. Find us wherever you listen to your music, and look us up and make sure you watch or listen, rather.
Exactly. You always got to do that. It's going to be a good one. Amber, I think she's going to, in case you haven't, I'm sure you may not know who she is because she does a lot of elite people, but look her up. She's gorgeous. She's going to give a lot of great tips. So don't want to miss that one. Don't forget, next Saturday, we'll be back at our weekly roundup, number 3, February 6th at 7:30 p.m. Central Standard Time. Don't want to miss that. As always, don't forget we need your dollars. I always tell people that's important. We need that because I always tell people from the Zoom to Podbean to Alitu, all the different missing pieces that make this thing happen. That costs money. The website costs money. Partnering with nonprofits, that costs money. So your dollars are important. It not only shows us that you appreciate what we do, but it really just offers us the potential to really take our mission even further than we even imagined. So, go to our website. You see the link below. Click on it. Go to it. See all the gifts you can get. Yeah, go to it. It's easy. Start off by giving $1. I mean, $1 a month is easy. Most people blow through $1 on nothing, and this can be going to $1 to something to actually build people. So, like I said, go to our website there and start off with $1. Devin, tell us about our social media.
Yes, so of course, like us, follow us, share us on Facebook, Twitter, or Instagram. You can find us at Black Agenda Pod. And also new this time is we have a website now. We are official here. Our website is blackagendapod.com. And so if you go there, you can find all of our podcast episodes. You can go back and listen to them for free, of course. And then we also have some ways for you to donate to us, and we'll be filling that in with some more stuff about us and the podcast. So we're really excited to finally have a website where you can go and kind of look us up. And so again, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram at Black Agenda Pod, and then our website is blackagendapod.com. Make sure you share that on your on your Facebook and everything. And so, that's going to do it for us here at the Black Agenda Podcast. This is Weekly Roundup number 2. We'll see you next Saturday at 7:30. Any last messages? Any last thoughts, Adrian?
No, we kept it easy, kept it simple, and we're just looking forward to being back with you next week, viewers.
All right. And so with that, we'll catch you next time.